What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates for the week. And so Bungie outlined some things to be aware of, but they also acknowledge feedback on exotic glaives, recent nerfs and more, so we'll possibly see some changes there in future. Plus we're going to talk about updates coming to the game in Season 17, huge story progress this week, some of which will tie into future seasons as well. And then we'll touch on some mysteries, upcoming event rewards, free loot and more in the video. But firstly guys, these days we all spend a lot of time looking at devices that produce blue light, and playing video games can expose us to a lot of blue light, but so can watching TV or using computers, and over time, blue light is harmful to our vision and is a major cause of headaches, issues sleeping, and eye strain. And so our sponsor at GMG Performance Eyeglasses have a range of glasses which help to filter out blue light produced by screens. They not only help to protect against long-term harm that blue light can potentially cause, but they can also improve our gaming experience by reducing the strain on our eyes, which ultimately helps us to play for longer, improve concentration, and ward off headaches, which is awesome. I've been using these Oranos glasses for a while now, and they're really comfortable when I'm playing games, but also when I'm working on my PC. And I definitely get fewer headaches when I'm at the desk for long periods. So I totally recommend that you guys check out GMG Performance glasses. And right now they have a huge 40% discount, which lasts for 48 hours from the time this video goes live. And so if you want to pick some up for nearly half price, all you need to do is click the link in the description box below. And thanks to GMG for sponsoring the video. Now, to talk about Destiny 2 stuff, first thing to note from Bungie Help is that daylight savings time is now active, and so the ritual reset times for affected regions will be moved by 1 hour, and the weekly reset will occur on Tuesdays at 10 AM Pacific. However, UTC times aren't affected at the moment, and the clocks in the UK, for example, will change in another couple weeks' time. Another mention here, but DMG said likely a short twab this week, nothing too crazy. We've got another weekly reset, seasonal story beat, and Iron Banner kicking off. Chasing down some bug details and feedback, we might not speak about them in the twab, but we'll be passing it along. And he also added that they'll look to share some important dates for the season at some point in the future, perhaps in the form of a small seasonal roadmap. Up next though, Bungie community managers responded to feedback on various exotics, and players suggested the nerf that was supposed to affect Graviton forfeit on the PvP side is also affecting PvE. But Cosmo replied they're making sure that this is being investigated. However, there was also conversation about exotic glaives, and basically players were saying we need to see buffs for them so that they don't just die. And so DMG responded and said we wanted to touch base and say that the team is aware of the feedback. I can't speak to any changes being made, or promise that tuning will take place quickly. We want to make sure the team has appropriate room to plan and execute if changes are to be made. And we don't want to rush a patch that could make items feel worse or introduce major bugs. But once we have appropriate information, we'll be sure to let you know. And the same goes for the exotic Titan helmet, and that's a reference to the Loreley Splendor helm, which was nerfed fairly significantly. And so the one positive I believe right here is that this is the first recognition about exotic glaive power in the game, and especially given the grind to acquire the weapons, but also the potential and the opportunity space for those weapons. I'm 100% in agreement that they need to be reworked or significantly buffed, and at least now there is a possibility that that update will happen in the future. So give us your thoughts about that in the comment section, as well as any changes you think could be made to those glaives. And moving on this week in the game, to comment on the weekly story beats, of course a spoiler alert is necessary, but we found that Crow had unplugged the equipment essentially in the helm where the Scion was interrogating Hive minds, and this resulted in the death of the Scion, plus the disruption of the operation. So Lord Saladin was pretty angry about it, and as we'd imagine, Keitel was even angrier about it, and so Crow was about set to be mauled in response. However, when it came to it, Lord Saladin stepped in to offer his life instead. And when Keitel saw the bravery and honor of commitment from Saladin, she offered him a place on her war council as Bracchus Forge. And so Saladin essentially just joined the Cabal. And that's pretty wild in itself, but some players ask the question, what's next for the Iron Banner? And firstly, it appears that Saladin will still run the event based on his dialogue and Bungie's own plans. In game, Saladin said he told Keitel that she'd have to kill him to keep him from the Iron Banner, but she replied that won't be necessary, adding that she in fact has a few ideas of her own for the event. And this ties in with something that Bungie have told us about, because they did confirm changes to Saladin as part of a rework for the event this year, and they teased fairly heavily that it's likely to happen in Season 17. And so it looks like the narrative with Saladin and the Cabal right now is going to play into the Iron Banner rework, and with interest from Keitel, that could be quite a neat update. So let us know what you think about it down below. And also here, some quick Season 17 mentions. Firstly, Bungie have also said that they're going to update Adept Trials rewards, and Joe Blackburn also teased the first new PvP map for a long time, dropping for Season 17. So with some Trials changes there, a new map, and the Iron Banner rework, it looks like PvP will be slightly more of a focus for that season. As always though, I'll keep you posted and we'll talk about possible content themes for Year 5 in a few moments. The only other quick gameplay mention for this week would be that of course we have 2 new collectible Lucent Moths in the Throne World, so if you're staying up to date with those. As always, I've got to shout out Time Sausage's Game-In with video guides for those collectibles, and I'll link his video with the locations for this week in the description. Now though, let's get into some other topics, and an interesting one is a missing season challenge, and players found this via the database at the start of the season, suggesting that we could have an additional puzzle, although it may no longer be a thing. So in the text data for the seasonal challenges at the beginning of the season, there were a couple of different challenges called Mark of the Witness to solve the puzzle on the Enclave, and it says find your path to the hidden mark. And then there's a separate challenge for week 8, which says survive the incursion on the Enclave and face the fate of the subjugator. And so of course it was suggesting some kind of puzzle would take place in the Enclave, then of course the incursion that it referred to. However, these appear to have been changed at some point in the game, and the week 3 challenge was replaced with one to complete all encounters in the new raid. But also, Mark of the Witness 2 no longer appears for week 8. And so either Bungie have removed the challenges associated with that, and if there is a puzzle that's going to take place, some kind of secret, it's been completely moved around and potentially we'll get it in the future. But then the other possibility, which is entirely likely, is that this piece of content was just cut out of the game. Perhaps was something they had in development but never made it into the finished version. And that's why those text lines exist for the challenges. Either of those is a possibility. But seeing as it's come and gone and hasn't happened in the game yet, I thought it would be interesting to talk about. So give us any thoughts that you may have. And next I wanted to speak about the likelihood that we're going to see a Rasputin or Anna Bray focused season at some point in Year 5. Of course, we saw Anna Bray back in some of the cutscenes for Witch Queen. And then following completion of the Exotic Glaive quest, there was a final report transcript that appears at the investigation board, and it references a message where Rasputin refers to a place called Nefele's Stronghold. However, Anna Bray said that there aren't any references to exactly where that could be, or any further information on record. And so that in itself could be something that we see in a season focused around that theme. And we know that Anna Bray took Rasputin's mind essentially, and has been working on something in the background. But given that we know this is a likely story for Year 5, something interesting lines up with this. And when Witch Queen was first revealed, Bungie teased Warmind themed weapons specifically when talking about future additions to weapon crafting, and they talked about both new and old reprise weapons. So with Anna Bray's return, and the teasers that we'll likely see Warmind weapons brought back, or at least that theme will be revisited in a significant way, it definitely looks like between that and the story right now, that an Anna Bray / Rasputin season is on the cards in Year 5. And of course the possible story there is pretty exciting, since returning Rasputin would likely look very different to the Warmind that we've known. So give us any thoughts you may have about that as well. And let's finish with a couple of random things right here. Firstly, for PsyOps Battlegrounds, it is possible to double loot one of the chests. So when you do the Cosmodrome Battleground, at the end of the mission where the chests spawn, if you open the chests and then turn around, it is possible to run all the way back to the previous area that's heading out into the Cosmodrome. Once you hit a load zone there, if you turn around and start running back towards the chests, at a certain point the game will pull you to that final room again, and it is possible to open both of those chests for a second time. It could potentially be useful if you want to farm any of the season loot specifically, but even if you just happen to end up in that battlegrounds, if you want to loot more chests, it could be a worthwhile mention. Just take note of the minimal amount of time that you actually have to grab the chest for a second time. Another brief mention is that of course Guardian Games is going to return this year. The first time any of the items for that event appear in the database is actually on the 3rd of May. And looking on Today in Destiny, we can see stuff that's going to be featured in Eververse. There are quite a few items that aren't visible yet, and those tend to be the actual new items. But one that you can get a cheeky preview of in the game is a new ornament for the Vex Mythoclast. This is called Class of Its Own, and it's basically just the Vex with this bluey grey skin and then the Guardian Games icon. But it looks pretty cool, and I thought it was worth a quick mention that we are going to see that event again. Also, I'll link it down below. I do have a video with the full breakdown of the Eververse schedule for this season, and that includes all of the stuff that's going to be sold for silver and Bright Dust, so if you haven't seen that, it'll be linked in the description. But finally, a couple of shouts here to other bits of content worth checking out. And it is currently possible to get Trials loot without actually playing any Trials, and this is done by using the Destiny 2 Twitch extension. And basically you need to react to matches when streamers with the extension complete Trials games 10 times. And if you've got all of this connected to your Bungie account, it's possible to unlock some Trials rep and a free Trials engram. So if that sounds interesting, Misleading has a video with more info on how to do it, so check that out in the description box below. And a final random shout here, but Danny DSTK did share that you can knock the Caretaker off the map in the Vow of Disciple raid, and this is in their clip right here. However, unlike some raid bosses in the past, Caretaker just kind of rematerializes on the floor with you, so Bungie had that one sussed. No guardrails needed, but regardless might be interesting to know. And for today guys, that's what we have to speak about in the videos, so as always, I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, a rating down below really does help us out, but also get subscribed to the channel and let us know any thoughts you have on Witch Queen now that we're a good few weeks in down in the comments section. But otherwise for now, I hope you guys have an awesome day.